Hello and happy Sunday night. Welcome to Favored Allies, our streaming D&D game among some busy adults who are playing for our enjoyment and yours. Previously on Favored Allies, our party, Embers Only, met in the northern barony of Kishir, as some of them were here to investigate some strange building that has risen from the swamp, something that has not been seen in these shattered kingdoms. While others were investigating a food shortage crisis that happened in the previous year and looking to make sure that such things don't happen again. The group connected, found, and eliminated a plot of cultists who were ruining the food and trying to bring about some sort of I don't know, foodless future for the lands of Lakshina. Having cleared out any altars to these cultists and cleaning up what appears to be the problem, the group is headed back to Bastion, the major capital city of this northern region, and the seat of power for the Crast religion, or the Crast controlled religion of the Asher. Having arrived, sold off a few things that you had been collecting and wandering along with, you made your way up to Upper Bastion, the seat of power here in the north, and spoke with the bride of the Asher, Kamishava Krast. You also spoke with a smith to kind of find out some more things that Derek might need on their quest. And kind of got yourself set up with some lodgings and established in the town after having met a few interesting folk. So now, Embers Only, what are you up to this first evening in Bastion?
Well, I imagine I'm gonna be fixing the salted jerky. I imagine I'm gonna be making a lot of jerky. Yeah.
And Mama, as a druid of the mountains, you are familiar with you're high enough up in altitude. The wind is strong enough and it is cold enough that you can essentially freeze dry this if you cut it into very thin strips and salt it and essentially lay it out in a way in the evening.
Have it on a rack like socks out on a windowsill that you leave out to dry.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure that you sit and watch to make sure nothing comes to pick it up.
I can help with that.
Yeah, and between the two of you, I'm not going to have you make like a survival check or anything. You're both very, very well skilled in food preparation in this way. It's a lot like what you would do out in the wild. So
I am going to be paying a little more attention to how Mama does it because up north I don't go too much, so like a different technique is kind of cool. Well, literally, to learn. So,
Well, and I'd be asking Callie her thoughts on meeting Tosha's mama.
hmm. Huh. Um, have you ever met like an alligator that had its like front foot stuck in a trap?
No, but I met my sister-in-law. It's kind of the same thing.
It's probably like that. Very much this is that and none of your old nonsense. Uh it seems a little more open to hearing from Tosha than anyone else, so hopefully her relationship is nicer. Uh but maybe it's a hard job, possibly a lot of stress. I don't couldn't get a good read. I got dismissed. So
Wait, she dismissed you?
yes, ma'am. Took 2 seconds of my report, which was very detailed, and then just dismissed me to talk with Tosha instead. Yeah,
I have
it is what it
thoughts
is.
about high and mighty types.
I thought you would.
Uh, Callie,
Hmm.
on a nat 2, what's an alligator?
Okay, let's see.
Imagine an apex predator since the dawn of time.
Yeah. If you imagine like
Imagine a dragon.
a really mean water dog that will pull you beneath the surface and roll you to death. I guess it's like that. And if you were to know, like a Drake, if a hypothetical beast could ever such exist, like that, squatter, meaner, and doesn't have most elemental powers, at least not so much as I've seen, but their bite is ferocious.
I'm never leaving cities again.
Never's a real long time there, Elias.
Sounds great. Sounds like a great time. A long, great urban time.
Since I
Well,
get
how
talking,
how do you think you're going to get home?
I don't know. I'll buy that tablet off of Derek at some point. We'll see.
I'm gonna give Mama like a sly wink, be like, should I not tell him about the sky alligators, the in the north that fly?
Yeah, the drop bears.
I mean, you know how excited he got about the.
Hand, no, no.
We should almost not speak it. Almost a better idea if we just don't.
Yes, it's very true.
Satosha, are you with us at this point?
I would imagine so, because we were all together at the Smithies, and so I would have come back with you all because I wanted to discuss some things. So
Well,
I
then
imagine I would have been.
I
Like, I
imagine
might
I would
not.
have said.
If you all wanted to have that conversation privately about my mom, like I could be in a different room, like inside while you guys were out here curing the meat.
Well, I mean, that's really up to you in terms of your comfort level, but I have no problem talking about your mama to your face. Tends to be a thing for me.
She's a difficult person to get along with. So, and she didn't raise me much, with how busy she's been with everything else. So I don't think anything that you could say about her would come as a surprise to me.
So I take it we're not real welcome here.
I mean, I think you're pretty welcome. I don't know. I haven't traveled many places, so I don't know what it's like elsewhere when visitors come. But I mean, this is one of the nicer places to stay in the church grounds. So
We're not talking about you, honey. Not about you. I was
Well-
thinking more of.
So to be fair, I don't know that this place is unwelcoming so much as our opinion on matters relating pertaining to Bastion does not matter. The welcoming is as it is, fine, but our voice, I suppose, doesn't carry as much weight. Would that be more correct to perhaps say, Tosha?
yeah, I mean, Kamishava doesn't really care about the opinions of many except herself. So
Yeah.
and she,
Mm.
she cares about what I have to say as far as I'm her legacy. And I'm supposed to be what carries on all the things that she's doing now. But anything I say that doesn't align with that, she isn't really happy to hear either.
Did you let us know about the instructions that you got that we are now definitely going to the Temple of the Moon?
No, that was part of what I wanted to talk with you all about.
Okay.
What we want to do next. So the ceremony is the Ascension ceremony is in 8 weeks. I mean, I think I want to find out as much as I can about the Asher and the ceremony before it actually happens. I think would kind of be a waste to just stay here waiting for it to happen. So I would be in favor of going to the Temple of the Moon to visit the library there, maybe share some of what we learned in the tower or castle, whatever it was that we went into, and see what we can find out, and then hopefully come back and be able to go to the ceremony with more information is my thought. Kamishava, I asked her about it since I have to, either be given leave or a task in order to, leave the church and my responsibilities here. So she gave me a letter to deliver to the high priestess, Mother Corn. I don't know, you might know her, Mama Faye.
I'm familiar, very much so.
So yes, that is something that I can leave to do at this time, but I don't know how you all feel and what you think we should do next. I do want to take another day here, because there are a few other things that I wanted to do, and that's something I wanted to talk with all of you, and especially you, Elias, about. But yeah, what is your next move?
Well, I mean, I'm so sorry, Elias. You go on ahead.
No.
honey.
Please, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm itching to get home to get some help on reading this here book, which I think Mother Corn's maybe the only one who could maybe help me with this. I'm about as far through it as I can possibly manage on my own without, some bursts of brilliance, which is fewer and fewer these days. I would like to check in at home on my family as well, but isn't that cutting it kind of close?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a week of time pretty much. So yeah, if something happened, we would be at risk of missing the ceremony. But I'd rather miss it and have more information than have less information and go to it. And I mean,
if you miss it though, that's it. That's the end. It does not sound as though they're going to be particularly understanding of, oh, I was slightly late.
No, I would probably be put to death if I returned.
Would your mama know how they made those little snack tablet things that we got when we were traveling? Could you set up one for Bastion? I mean, being put to death ain't. Oh, I mean, look, I know you are of the Asher, and death is part of the worship and whatever. But like, I would feel terrible, Tosha, if anything happened to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't fear death when my time comes. I'm not trying to rush to that point either. But I am afraid of what I might do in the ascension ceremony. What if I kill everyone else that comes into that room? What if my powers flow out of me and I have no control? I would rather die than have that happen.
I don't have an issue with us heading over to the Temple of the Moon to get more information. We have a book we wanted to give them. We have questions we needed to ask. We have a sword we need to talk to them about. we have reasons to go there anyway. But if we're gonna go, is there any fast way to do it? Is Kamishava giving us like an escort to get there quicker? Is there anything we can do to make sure that we are on time?
She has allowed me to go. She would prefer that I stayed here.
Mm.
So she certainly didn't say anything about any extra help for us. But I can try to inquire. As far as something like that tablet, Kamishava is not really magically inclined
I meant
herself
more like a
and
shortcut, and on the off chance there
knowledgeable of
was
that.
a.
Yeah, I guess I could try to ask. I'm trying to think, Nate, if there's anyone that would come to mind to ask about like some kind of like fast magic that would allow for like faster travel, if that's something I've heard of or is something anyone in Bastion like is known to kind of provide or do.
There's not like a porter's guild doing teleportation services or anything like that. Your mother would probably be most aware of it. It's not something that you're familiar with, which means, if it was something that was like easy to come by or is well known among the upper echelons, you probably would have had access to that for your trip to Kashir. But you could ask. Your mother is happy to be the gatekeeper of information. So she may know something about it, and you wouldn't expect her to share that knowledge with you unless it was pertinent.
Yeah, I mean, my mother is the only person I can think of to ask about that. I don't know of any way like that. Mama, do you know of any fast travel, magical travel that exists from the Temple of the Moon if we got there that would be able to bring us back?
If I had, I probably wouldn't have found Callie and Elias as it is. But
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not a priest. I'm just
If
an angry old woman.
if we are staying here for another day, maybe I could get reference from one of the warriors or Elena as to who might be scouts for the area, get a hold of some maps, and I could maybe get a learn of the land before we leave, and that will help us travel faster once we do leave. I thought I heard, but I was not listening. But voices carry. Um, some talk of us getting horses as opposed to taking the carriage, and being singular on horses, we can travel much faster than pulling any kind of rig. So I can factor that into the travel math and get working on a plan if that would be permissible.
Well, and I'd help Callie as well. I mean, I'm old, but my eyes still work.
Yeah, I think any help we can get to try to travel uh better and faster would be much appreciated. I can ask around about horses. Um and then the other thing I wanted to speak about is, well, one thing, uh Elias, I learned something new about your family from my mother
Mm-hmm.
during our conversation that I thought you should know. Um remember that I told you they uh were told they had a choice between joining the Wall That Walks, exile from the church and the lands of the Asher, or death, and that most of them chose death or the Wall That Walks.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, that's not really how it happened. They were all rounded up and executed, not given a choice.
That does sound more in character with what I've learned of the current church hierarchy. So interesting to know that the family weren't all zealots, but
Well, it strikes me is a bit strange
Why?
because I mean, well, there have been other fallen families,
Sure,
uh, many in fact,
it's a
and
political
that
move.
yeah, but that choice is usually given in all circumstances. So either it was a lie for all of them, or there was something about your family in particular that they wanted to make sure everyone that was in the city was killed.
I assume none of the other fallen families had someone become the bride of the Asher and then vanish,
Yes,
right?
to my knowledge, that's true.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if that had been, exactly what it sounds like. Somebody took advantage of an opportunity to get rid of the Latonans so that their family had more of a likelihood of being in a position of power. That's how it works.
Yeah.
It
I
wouldn't
mean,
surprise me.
you seem to know more about politics than I do, so maybe
I know
that's
more
true.
about the nasty stuff people do on the back end of politics. The actual whatever isn't my speed. But yeah.
Mine either. And then lastly, I did have, as we were traveling here, I did have an idea of some people that could maybe be allies that we could maybe talk to.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe we could get them to, I don't know when your sister Elena is
We don't have
planning to
time to
get
wait.
here. Yeah, definitely not, but they might be able to provide some guidance or protection to her when she does get here.
Okay.
They're they're members of the Ashen Elders. These two people, they're the council uh, that kind of helps balance the power of the Bride of the Asher.
Hmm.
And so it's made up of, some people of important guilds in the city, of other groups, and it includes these two individuals who are former brides of the Asher.
Are they
Um,
crass?
no,
Okay.
and they've spoken out against some of my mother's more like harsh or strict interpretations of things in the past. They've also
Hmm.
expressed concern about uh, fewer high families and that pool getting smaller and smaller and wanting there to be more.
Hmm.
Um, they're also elves, so I mean, they're very long lived and have seen a lot of things
Hmm.
that have happened. Um, Different ways the ascension has been, and while they can't talk to us about the ritual either because they're bound under the same silence,
Hmm.
they might be sympathetic, and they might want to see the Laytonans family, um, become a high family here again and be willing to help Elena.
Assuming they are what you're saying, then yeah, I can see how it would be in their best interests to go that direction. Um, do they already know that you are not overly thrilled about the idea of seceding your mother?
I mean, I've never kept that especially a secret.
Okay. If you trust them and you're confident that this doesn't end with my sister showing up in the city and getting turned over to Kamishava in exchange for some, you know, back end deal, then yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know them. We aren't close personally,
Hmm.
but just based on what I've heard coming out of the council, it seems like they might have similar goals and they might not be thrilled about me being the next bride.
Okay.
Um, so they might be willing to do something to help with that.
Nate, I had a question that I never got around to asking last week because I don't know if it would be helpful or if it would come up or not. Do I know if my organization has, like, do I have a contact in this city? Do I know, like, oh, there's a dead drop where if you leave stuff, it will get picked up by someone? There's someone here we have as an asset or just something? Or is it more of a, like, we currently don't have anybody here, and that's why I was, like, just sent out to Siberia, effectively?
You know that your organization has been caught a couple times in Lower Bastion.
Okay.
Even with a great deal of training, the livelihood of folks in Bastion is so radically different from what folks that are trained like you know. Um, so, like, you know that you can keep an eye out for runners. You know runners do pass through here, and since you're on an active mission in the region, it's reasonable to think that there would be other runners that might pass by. So you know that you need to keep an eye out for runners, but there's not a you don't have a contact in town.
Okay.
But given the important events that are expected to happen soon, you would probably have an eye out. You would expect somebody's going to be there to witness it.
Okay. But I don't have there's not a prearranged way of, like, getting in contact with that person. So, okay.
No, you were originally sent up here to look into the stone risen from swamps, so that didn't have you necessarily passing into Bastion.
Yeah. I just wanted to see if there was, like, maybe an extra ally we could grab in the city, but it sounds like that would be time intensive to try to find and track down, and we don't have that kind of time. So, okay. Yeah. I mean, how much of this do we think we can get done tonight in terms of, like, finding horses, dealing with that, seeing if you can find additional scouts, trying to contact those members of the council?
Good question. I'll defer some of this to Nate. I imagine, I mean, the former brides are important figures in the city, so I imagine we probably wouldn't be able to speak to them until tomorrow, um, but I could certainly inquire.
One of the benefits of Upper Bastion is that there aren't a lot of petitioners that make it up here. So they're not fielding questions from all of Bastion. They're in important political conversations, strategic decisions made by the elders, and do go to Lower Bastion. Particularly, the two brides that you mentioned are aged, elven, and don't necessarily take the path of patience very often. So you think that if you wanted to get get an audience with one or both of them this evening, you are also the high priest, so you could make that happen. Weirdly, it's really easy for you to get on people's calendars.
Yeah, so we can try to go talk with one or both of them tonight. And then as far as inquiring about horses, I would guess I would ask someone in the church about that. I know we discussed like the same person that helped me like get lodging for these folks and kind of would help me with any like administrative stuff like that. I could put in, or if they're still around at this time of evening, I could put in a request to them to just see if there were any horses available for use or purchase for a trip to the Temple of the Moon and back. Would that be something I could do this evening?
I mean, you can talk to the person inside the temple. You do know that while there is a livery stable up here, it's primarily for guests of the temple and temporary keeping. Horses don't like living at the top of a mountain. So you do know whatever you get from them will probably be a piece of parchment that will get you horses down at the outer circle livery, which will be, you know, this is on the occasion that you actually do leave Bastion. That's pretty standard procedure for you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and quickly do that then. The request about the horses, and then yeah, I guess Elias, if you'd like to come with me, we can go see if we can find time with the two former brides. You're welcome to come, Mama and Callie, if
Oh,
you
yeah, I'm coming.
would like to come.
Yeah, I'm not missing out on this one.
Oh, I was going to ask if you would scrawl me a letter to act in your stead up here. I will get going on finding paths and scouts and information.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll help Callie.
Yeah, but it often goes better with a letter of recommendation rather than me just saying I represent you, because I imagine that might not go so well without proof. So,
True.
And you've had attendants and runners of the church of the temple serve you in the past, Antosha. You know you can give Callie your holy symbol, and that is basically just like a blank check for folks to help out.
Great. Yeah, I'll give you my holy symbol.
I really wanted to hear what they had to say, but I am of better use to Callie. I'm probably not real useful to talk to the former brides.
I mean,
Probably.
with your wealth of knowledge, you might be. And everyone seems to love you. So either way you want to go, I'm fine with company, but I'm also fine to do this on my own 2 feet.
Well, I'll assist, mostly because I want to be useful.
Hmm.
I don't think I'll be useful for them. I tend to get too up in my own head.
All right.
And Derek is kind of settling down at your beds that you have, that little hostel area, and you see him kind of tinkering with his hand.
Mm. All right. We will meet him back here because I imagine we'll be possibly done first. So.
All right. Let's start with Tosha.
All right. Yeah, I guess I would, whatever way I would usually like try to reach out or contact them, I would, take that route.
Yeah, and you know, like it being evening, most of the runners are not doing their performing their duties or the temple attendant or anything like that. So you make your way up towards. They are often found, if not within the main chamber of the temple, and if the Council of Ashen Elders is not being held, they have a receiving room on the second floor of the inner tower. So you know you can head up there. The door is closed as you approach, and you can hear voices inside. Not speaking in hushed tones, just, you know, it's a heavy door.
I'm guessing that we knock here. That would generally.
Yeah, you would knock and announce yourself.
All right. Yeah, I'll knock and announce myself.
Just as you're knocking, you do hear one voice you're familiar with, a drow from the archive below. This would be Bly Evish, the Keeper of Embers. Just as you're about to knock, you hear it saying, and could you imagine, they're saying this goblin has Olena and the crests on better footing? Who would have thought? Oh, I'll believe that when I see it. I don't think that's true at all. Then you kind of hear these other two being like, no, that's not happening. You knock and announce yourself, and Bly, just after you announce yourself, says, well, ladies, I suppose this is probably official temple business. I'll have a good evening. Oh, take some with you. And you hear the clanking of glass and the movement of some like stone and metal before you see the great door before you opens, and dressed in the garb of a charred priest is this drow, Blyavish, sees you and bows deeply. High Priest?
Archivist.
And she just nods and continues down, and you can see she has a glass jug kind of in one hand as she's heading down.
All right. And I enter with Elias, presumably, unless you're.
You enter a fairly simple chamber. Within here, it's maybe 15 foot across, rectangular-ish, a little rounded at the corners. It was not like perfectly carved out of the mountain into, what might be, a standard room shape. Still some features of stone that were difficult to remove that were turned into tables or other pieces of furniture. There's actually carved into the stone walls several shelves where you can see rows of books. There's a great fireplace at the back with a flue opening up top going to, you could only guess where. You just know that it's well kept and that it is safe to have a fire in here. And there's a grand table at the center, maybe 6 feet across, heavy wood, and you can even you can see there are different, as opposed to Elias or Alar again in the south. Such a grand table would probably be. It would be a big deal to have it composed of one piece of wood, and this is clearly interlocking planks. Again, not the easiest place to get things to up here. And again, two very cushioned chairs that are reminiscent of the throne that the Bride of the Asher might sit upon. The current acting head of the church, that is, as these are two, while you say former brides for simplicity's sake, they are still brides. The Asher did not petition for a divorce. The Asher is, in fact, still wed to both of these folks. But you can see to the right is Kristana Vastur. She's a fairly aged elf, about 250 or so, and is starting to kind of show a little bit of age, as elves age extremely slowly. Even Mama, for being aged, still looks middle-aged at best when compared to someone like a human or an orc. Similarly here, this person is definitely aged for an elf, but well-aged. The other, to the left, you see the one that's referred to as Great Oak. This is Great Oak Mien. She is an elf as well. You don't actually know, honestly, how old the Great Oak is. She has given ages anywhere between 150, jokingly, of course, because her reign started over 150 years ago. And she actually was the progenitor of her family, as best as anyone can tell, and has lived in Bastion for over 300 years. And she looks younger than Callie by a wide margin. Almost late teenage, if you were comparing to a human. Both bear, while your mother has a large crown that bears the bridal veil, both have smaller circlets that have gray veils that pull off to the sides to denote their station. And one turns to you and says, "Oh, High Priest, welcome. We were just," and they kind of turn and look at each other. we were enjoying one of the ancient sacraments that your family is not quite so proud of.
Yes, I understand. I am I'd hope to talk to you uh of some things of importance. Do you have some time now for a conversation?
Certainly, we can always make time. So please, and they pull out. You see, one has a glass, a very finely crafted. This is Cristana. Has a finely crafted, as best as you can tell, glass goblet, but it shines like crystal and is highly decorative. It is clear, and you can see some sort of red liquid inside of it. The Great Oak has a cup that looks to be made from some sort of horn with a wooden base. Similarly, clearly quite full of whatever this red liquid is. And while Cristana kind of sets the glass neatly to the side and looks to have a serious conversation with you, the Great Oak just kind of leans back and continues drinking and just says, "Yes, of course. What is it that you need?"
Well, I'm sure that it's been no secret to both of you or most people in Bastion that I have no wish to ascend and join your ranks as the bride. Um, to that end, I was wondering how you all would feel if there was another high family, um, one that had passed, well, that was killed off, quite honestly, a while ago, but apparently not all killed off. Um, and that at least one member of this family also bore the mark. Would that be of interest to you both?
I want to double check. Nate, the DM, wants to double check. You had talked about bringing Alar here. Alar, are you in the room?
My thought as Tosha goes in is basically to like follow behind and then go to like the back of the wall, like very like bodyguard positioning. I'm just like keeping an eye on the exits. I'm not paying attention to the conversation, at least visibly. Uh, I'm just pulling Secret Service detail at the moment.
Give me a stealth check when you do that.
Okay.
I'm not going to roll. You're just going to be against passives.
Cool. That is going to be a 9. Oh wait, sorry. This wouldn't be silent, so yeah, it would just be 19. It's not about sound.
Right. All right. So with a 19, you're kind of pulling Secret Service duty. And so they both kind of give you an odd look as you came in, not only unannounced, but Tosha hadn't mentioned you. And you're very clearly like not here as a person of import. Mm-hmm. The Great Oak keeps staring at you while Cristana turns to address the High Priest. But Tosha, after you say this, the Great Oak looks at you and says, "So that one. That's the one, huh?"
Respectfully, I am not the one that the High Priest is speaking of.
Oh. So this is someone else with the eyes of Svaha? Says the person with the passive perception of 24.
You would be correct.
Interesting.
Yes, his sister is the person that we're hoping you might help.
Cristana looks shocked when the Great Oak mentions Svafa and the acknowledgments here. Um, Kristana, why? I understand, High Priest, what your preferences are here, and it's a dangerous game to bring in an outside force to. What does your mother know of this?
Nothing. At least as far as I know.
Well, given, with all due respect, the actions of the Crest that we have seen, I think it's best if you keep it that way. And what are you proposing?
I would like um, for this member of the Laytonin family to be able to attend the Ascension ceremony and let the Asher decide what happens.
Um, this person, your sister, when she comes in, I would suggest she come in with, well, less fanfare than you did, entering the city with the high priest and all. As little attention as she could draw to herself. If Zvafa was any indication, I'm sure your sister is probably not one for the limelight.
I don't know exactly how she is going to enter, but I doubt it will be subtle. But I also doubt that it will be loud to the degree of entering with the high priest. She's not a quiet person, but she does not travel in such august company.
Well, that should be enough as long as she's not running around telling everybody that she is the daughter of Latonin and will ascend to be the new
No.
bride. Excellent. There are questions I have. Is she marked? Has she been marked?
Yes. She definitely has.
And Kristana turns and looks to you, Antosha. How much have you told? How much have you? And there's like a long pause, and the Great Oak looks over at her. These are not outsiders. Do not treat them as such. You were right to tell them about the mark and what it means and what it indicates. But I think we're concerned how such a mark would appear without any of our knowledge. Our when a family falls, there are rituals to separate them. Such a ritual would need to be done to reconnect them. It's, in fact, it's difficult to do. It's something that we've been pushing your mother to reinstate, but such rituals are costly.
Would Savafa have been capable of such a ritual?
They turn and look at each other. Svafa renounced her position. Svafa.
It's something the bride of the Asher must do.
No, but her connection to the Asher is sufficiently weak. She would need to do, I don't even know what, to be able to perform such a task. The bride, by virtue of her position, could do so, but there are others um, that raised the first of us.
Out of curiosity, considering what I have seen of your power, Tosha, would it hypothetically be possible that the High Priest's magic might have inadvertently reconnected at some point?
And they kind of turn and look at each other. High Priest Crest, we do not know. We don't understand your magic. It is one of the great mysteries of the Asher. Could that do it? Perhaps. But magic of such intention, it's not something that we think of when we think of wild and uncontrollable magic. This is something we will think on. The important question that you came here for, would we see to it that she is allowed to participate? Well, no one can deny her that, assuming that she is present and alive and safe at the time of the ascension.
Yes, that is part of our request. We are planning to leave to the Temple of the Moon shortly and return back shortly before the Ascension ceremony. We don't know when Elena will be arriving here in Bastion, but we will likely be away when she enters, and therefore we won't be able to be here to help protect her and guide her. To my knowledge, she knows nothing of Bastion, aside from what is told in the South.
You would do well to make sure no one else knows. And I mean no one. And this is Kristana. The actions, and the Great Oak turns, and the injustice. And Kristana kind of looks back at her, and you blaspheme at your own peril. The actions of Ramanari the First have me concerned about how your mother would respond to this. She is not Ramanari the First, but she has her own concerns, and she would see them through. It would do your ward no service for us to seek her out ourselves. We will do what we can to keep an eye on her from here. And us leaving Upper Bastion is, well, it's something people take note of. Oh. You're proving very different from Kamishava. Even now. Even when everything is so close. High Priest, I do not mean to offend. I simply wish to say I appreciate that the crest have grown.
I thank you for your help and counsel with this. Of course, do what you can. I understand there are limitations to what you may be able to provide. I wanted someone in the city to be able to help her, and I didn't know who else we might trust with this information. I have another question, if I might ask. You both know that my powers are unpredictable and that they've hurt others in the past. This has been a fear of mine in entering the Ascension ceremony, and as you also both know, that in recent years only one person has emerged from the ceremony, and it's unclear what happens to everyone else, or if they kill everyone else. But I've learned recently that this wasn't always so. That, there used to be that many people could enter and exit the ceremony, those selected as the bride and those not. I know that you are bound not to speak of the ceremony specifically, but I I wish to know what has changed, and if there's anything I can do.
Kristana looks at her crystal cup and kind of lifts it up and swirls it around, but doesn't speak. The great oak finishes hers and sets it down, and looks over at her companion and like taps the cup, like, would you sort that out?
We should have brought Mama.
We do not know if it is the will of the Asher or if it is the will of others that has caused such deadly ascensions. For my own, it was not so. And when she says that, Kristana is still just like staring into the swirling cup. It is my understanding that this is not something that needs to be the case. But it is
Thank you.
dangerous. It is dangerous. And you should know, although I'm sure you would find out in time, Olena has also had her symbol appear and will be present.
That does not surprise me. But your response gives me hope that there might be some way that I can protect the others in the ceremony, or that many of us may come out dangerous, though it may be.
Yes. I can think of few dangers that I encountered during my own ascension that would rise to the level of Elena if she so chose to ensure that she were to become the bride. Such actions are looked down upon, although not strictly against scripture, and I think that in recent centuries it has become common for these sorts of concerns to take precedent over the faith, or for folks to believe that it is, well, a sign of their faith, what they're willing to sacrifice. It is always strange when folks are willing to sacrifice things that are not theirs.
I agree. I find it blasphemous in the extreme.
Well, concern yourself with Elena. Your counterpart. I have many questions. Turning to you, Alar. The Great Oak looks at you. I have many questions, and wisdom tells me I should wait for them to be revealed. Perhaps, in some ways, the less I know at the moment, the better. Yes.
If I may, Great Oak. Did you know Svafa well?
She smiles to herself. Did I know Svafa well? I knew Svafa. Very few, I think, in Bastion could be said to know Svafa well. In much the same way, very few could be said to know the High Priest well. There is a certain life that comes with being of the houses and the families here. I took a great interest in Svafa. She was curious. She was always interested in what we could do besides survive here in Bastion. But there are things that are required of us as leaders of the church and as leaders of a community, a civilization that has great inertia in certain directions. The way you talk, High Priest, is not radically different from the way Svafa spoke. Although she had a very different upbringing, perhaps, than you. I provided Svafa with some guidance on how she might leave Bastion unnoticed. I provided her with, well, first, I told her where she could get some questions answered. I don't know if she didn't like the answers or if it didn't work out the way that she had wanted. And she, despite that, ascended. And I had offered, because of her concern, because of her wish to leave, I did offer her some guidance on how she might do so. I'm glad to hear that when she took her leap of faith, that she landed somewhere. And she kind of like looks down and it was a great cost. So I'm glad, I hope, that she has found peace.
I can't say that I know her mind entirely. This is not something that she made known to us. This is something that we've discovered recently, but I would like to think that she has found peace.
I would like to think that as well.
Nate.
Yes?
What are the vibes I am getting off the two of them? Do I have reason to be suspicious that there might be a double cross coming?
So the vibes that you're getting off of Kristana isn't super personable with the High Priest. There's some level of tension there. You did hear her mention other members of the priest's family, former brides from the priest's family. there's, again, some history. But you don't get the sense that she particularly likes Kamishava. Like whatever her feelings are towards the priest, they are amplified in the direction of Kamishava. So whether there's a general double cross, I'll have you roll it. But if it was, if it's like some other party that you aren't familiar with, it might be kind of very difficult for you to figure out.
Okay.
What you got on that insight?
That is going to be a 15 on the die plus 7. Math is hard. 22.
So with the 22, again, you're reading this, and you do see that there's some modicum of respect for the high priest that does not exist for Kamishava. There's also aspects of this person takes their religion extremely seriously, and it sounds like, it appears that they would like to find a way for this to work that is kosher by the rules.
Okay.
The Great Oak.
Cool.
The Great Oak is chilling, drinking a wine-like substance, and looks like she's like 19 with her feet up on the table. Like, the Great Oak is really hard to read. She doesn't seem traditionally dangerous, or like you're getting like a bad vibe off of her. You're trying to pin down a vibe from her besides relaxed, and you're not getting anything.
Yeah, that's actually worrying in terms of her being dangerous, but no, I mean, yeah, okay. That's good. And the other question I had was is anybody listening at the door?
Well, so one, you do know that there is a pale ritualist right outside the door, as always. You know what? Give me a perception check.
That's gonna be a 14.
You didn't hear any footsteps or anything out there. Nothing to suggest
Okay.
there was somebody.
Okay.
Surely this stone doesn't deaden the sound too bad. But the Great Oak is kind of looking over at you, Alar, and just, I don't know what Svafa learned. I don't entirely know what her questions were specifically that she asked. But I do know where she went to get her questions answered. And you see Kristana turn and give a long, wide-eyed look at the Great Oak. So if you would like, I could tell you where to go for that.
I think I feel comfortable, and he looks over to Tosha, saying for both of us that we would very much like. We've found no shortage of interesting old lore about the Asher.
Both of their eyes light up. Really? How old?
Oh, very, very, very old.
And in particular, the 19-year-old looking one leans forward, elbows on the table. How old?
I don't know if we could actually put a date on this. Can we?
Uh,
Or is it
we
more
believe
like, yeah.
we believe it dates back to the Jukut Empire.
If you have use of them, I'm little more than a figurehead these days. These old bones, as she like shakes her like wry young form. So when you are done with them, I would very much love to see what you have learned.
Of course, I hope one day it can be public to everyone and available in the archive. But certainly, there are things I want to keep on me. We are planning to maybe look for some more information at the Temple of the Moon, and it would be helpful to have the information there with us. But upon my return, in exchange for everything you've done, of course, I would be happy to let you look through them.
I would appreciate if you would, when you are done there, and when you are done with them, if you would bring them to me before you bring them to the Keeper of Embers. I would hate for them to be determined to be heretical or anything before, I got a chance to look over them.
I'm not as familiar with Bastion's political structure, but does the name Keeper of Embers, is it as foreboding in terms of the condition of texts that might be handed over as I think it sounds?
Oh, no. These are the embers that stoke the fire of knowledge. They are the keeper of the archive.
Good.
Yes, certainly. I'll be happy to bring that information to you.
Safafa spoke with... What... High Priest, I know you're familiar with the idea, but what knowledge do you have of the ancient spirits?
The old gods? Is that what you speak of, or is this something different?
No. The ancient spirits that supported us in the fight with the old gods, the old uh, creatures of the land on which we live.
Not much in detail beyond what you just shared.
And you just to you, the player, we've talked about this before. There are like ancient creatures of the land that do technically have a say in Bastion politics because of what they did to help protect the land and probably actually maintain some of the enchantments that keep Bastion, frozen and able to sustain people.
Right. But Tosha doesn't know a lot about that, right? Just that it's a thing, we have to kind of pay homage to this for reasons, but it doesn't really know a lot.
There's one we know as the Grandmother of the Mountain. She resides in what is now the northern bog spines between us and Hollow. I can provide you with some guidance on how to find her, although if she wants you to find her, you will find her, and if she does not, you will not.
If I can ask, I described the weird person who attacked us on the way into Bastion. Does that sound like this Grandmother of the Mountain, or is that a different entity?
What are you describing? Because there was an
Oh.
entity on a far cliff through a
Gotcha,
snowstorm, so Alar didn't really see them.
Okay. No worries, then. I didn't know exactly how far out it was if we got a good look, but okay, cool. Works.
That was 300 feet away on a precipice.
No worries.
Yes, we would appreciate those directions.
But if you do describe your experience and mention that, the Great Oak looks at you and, oh, that sounds like the Sister of Frost.
Sister of Frost. Would she be one of these spirits?
Yes, and we do, strictly speaking, need to revere her and give her some deference, although we have no specific... we are not specifically beholden to her.
She has shown an interest in me and my connection to the Asher. this Sister of Frost for some reason. She mentioned wanting to see through my eyes or something like that. I've denied her twice now, at cost. But if you know anything about what she is after, might help us, as she might try to confront us on the pass again as we leave.
I'm afraid I'm not. I have never spoken with Sister Frost. She, as best as I can tell, is of a greedy sort. Um, you might avoid the pass. I don't know why, but I think it is wise to not thrice deny one of the elders. One of these spirits. But even so, they often offer boons for that which you would trade them, but sometimes the cost is high. Be mindful. If you were to speak with this grandmother of the mountain, I would similarly expect you to incur some cost by even so much as gaining information, although I'm sure she will offer you much, much more.
I'm ignorant about these spirits. What might be a gift we could offer?
You could offer a limb, a memory, a loved one, a skill, knowledge. It really depends on the mood and what their current needs are. Your connection to the Asher, were I in your position, I would find other things to offer.
Yes. This grandmother of the mountain, what information do you believe that she possesses?
She holds one of the enchantments on Bastion. She was here when the gods of old clawed the mountain and left this cleft that we live in. She was here before the gods turned against the elves of the land. She was here before the first wood elves were carved from the trees. She knows much.
Thank you.
Please, as a sign of good faith, share in this drink with us. And they pour a very small wooden carved shot glass and pour in some just as a thin wine. This is actually still used in some sacraments. The pale ritualists in particular actually use this as a component in a lot of their work. It was historically drank during certain procedures and events, but wasn't strictly required. And in particularly, Ramanari the First basically abolished all use of it in that way, except where it was necessary. These two just they've apparently blessed some water, which converts it to this, and they're just sharing it amongst themselves.
Tosha takes it a little bit grudgingly, but like trying to, do what they have been taught to do with this type of stuff. And rather than like sipping it like wine, they just like kind of do it like a shot to get it over with as quickly as possible.
Right. And she looks to you, ALR. Southerner?
I take it happily.
They pour you a small wooden cup that is set off to the side, like a normal sized cup.
Yeah. I am not looking to get it over with like Tosha. Is it nice?
No.
Oh.
It's
Okay.
it is spiced. It is not whatever the fruit aspect of it is not grape. It's kind of hard to place, but it is highly spiced, and the spice kind of masks this like aftertaste that is a little unpleasant, and it makes it feel more like you want to keep drinking it as opposed to sip stop sip stop.
Okay. All right.
It's like one of those things. It tastes nice while you're drinking it, and the moment you stop, you're like, oh god. So you two share a drink with these two brides of the Asher. Mama, Kelly, you are going in search of maps. Where are you heading to?
Well, I'd originally thought, because I think at one point we were in a library, but my original thought was to find one of the warriors and ask who they would recommend, because they might have like a scoutmaster or something, someone who's got more direct knowledge on that, and then work my way from there. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see there are two pale ritualists right at the front of the temple where you kind of split off from the other two.
I will approach one with yeah. Pardon me. May I speak with you?
They do not respond.
Excellent. On behalf of the High Priest, I beseech you for some knowledge regarding the area, the Temple of the Moon, and methods of transportation. Who would you recommend I speak to, if not you?
The one closest to you does not regard you and just says, the archive.
All right, that way. No, kind of point where I think I recall the archive being.
It's
speak
inside
loudly and
the temple.
I speak loudly and slowly. Will they have maps?
They do not respond to you.
Well,
The pale ritualists suffer very little input into their lives.
that tracks. From the leadership to the foot soldiers, they're about the same. There we go. I will turn around having expected this, and that's why I asked for the thingy bobber. Got it. Head to the archive.
Yep, you make your way into the archive, and as you're heading in, you see there is a drow coming down the stairs, the tower in the back, and kind of enters the great entryway of this temple from the back and heads towards the archive, kind of walking ahead of you.
Is it a drow I recognize, or just a drow?
Nope, just some drow dressed up like a charred priest, carrying a small glass jug.
Okay.
And it's not a charred priest that I recognize from being in the archive earlier?
No, you didn't see this person in the archive earlier.
I mean, people come and go. I don't know everybody. I'll just follow them along to the archive. Just sort of like, it's sort of Callie's, I think, method of like when people are in her space, she's kind of clocking where they are just to make sure there's no threats, because that's sort of her job. So yeah, she'll proceed to the archive, keep an eye on where this person heads, and then try to figure out the reference person if they can serve them. Because if I recall, they won't let us take stuff, but they will bring us stuff or tell us stuff. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, they generally it's not a library. It is an archive where an archivist will do the research for you.
Gotcha. All right. Fair enough. I will wait with the thingy kind of like around on my neck. So it's like very obvious I have something.
Right. Yeah, and you follow in behind them. They kind of pass through. There's this big barrier kind of counter, and for being a holy site, kind of unceremoniously, like sit up on the barrier, kick their legs over the side, and get to the backside of the barrier. And they see you kind of entering in behind them, and they look immediately embarrassed. Hello, can I help? You're here on behalf of the High Priest, I see.
Yeah, I most certainly am. And I just kind of like flick my gaze down to like where they did the jump and then back up to them. And I would most appreciate your diligent assistance.
Yes?
Yeah. We are traveling with the high priest to Mama, correct me, the Temple of the Moon. Is that correct?
Temple of the Moon. That's correct. We're going to see Mother Corn.
Yes. And what we are, my companion and I are looking for is maps of the area, any scouting reports, things that could recommend the most expeditious route through the area so that we may make haste.
I can bring some maps that you might copy down. I can. Oh, let me think. I think one of our travelers is in. So someone who heads to and fro to this temple occasionally. I'll see if they can provide you any additional help. As I understand it, the High Priest has already requisitioned a lot of research that several folks are on at the moment. Yes, I will, and you can kind of see like they've got the paint on the upper half, and their skin around their cheeks and their nose is just like slightly darker than you would expect the drow's skin to be. It doesn't look like it's got any makeup on it or anything. And they let out a small hiccup as they turn and they go and walk off to get somebody else.
Uh-huh.
Do I think that this person is drunk?
You think this person may have had a few?
Well,
Do I?
interesting.
Is there any way for me to kind of observe whether or not I think this is actually an archivist or just drunk archivist?
You could give me an insight check.
I will try that. It's not always my best skill. I tend to make the more the snap judgments.
As Mom is doing that, I'm kind of curious from what I know of Tasha and what she's told us of the religion, what I understand of the religion, they don't drink at all, right? Or is that just among certain ranks? It's like a choice, like Baptists. Some do, some don't.
It's never been like stated that it's illegal or anything. You know, the High Priest does not drink,
Right.
but that's really all you know about it. Like, it hasn't. You haven't like sat down and talked through like the inner workings of the priesthood.
Right. That's true.
14 for me.
14. I mean, between like one, this person seems drunk, like a little bit. They did. You did notice that they had a little jug with them that was somewhat reminiscent of a booze jug, although you may not have seen one that looks quite like this. They're in all of the garb. They're in all of the makeup. They did seem to know what they were talking about, like when they were saying, "Oh, one of our travelers might be in," and other things. You get the impression this person didn't expect to be working right now.
Ah. Okay.
That's fair.
They're also not the most observant. You didn't have to sneak to be behind them and them not notice there were people right behind them. So they swiftly walk off to the back. And a few minutes later, there is a younger elf that comes up and, yes, I'm Jacoby. Could I help you with your travels? Yes.
Yeah. My compatriot and I are relatively new to the area, and we are looking for the best routes, most expeditious paths towards the moon, Temple of the Moon, and any dangers you're aware of that we should keep a lookout. The dangers of the fire swamp, so to speak.
Well, I mean, the Temple of the Moon is pretty well traveled. Between here and there, as much as any roads this way are well traveled. If you're looking to get there, the safest route, Widow's Pass, is simplest route. And he pulls out a map, and it's essentially the same route that you took previously. There's the or this like intersection in the middle of Widow's Pass, where if you take one direction, it goes up into the baronies in the baronies where Kashir and the other parts of the Frozen North are, and if you go a different direction, you head up here to Bastion. Yeah, I mean, if you cross through Widow's Pass and head down, it'll take you a good 4 or 5 weeks.
Oh.
What about the fastest route?
Hmm.
He kind of looks both of you up and down, and all right, if you want the fastest route, you're going to want to cut through the upper bog spines. You cross over the mountains due south of here, head through a little bit of forest in the hollow. This is the northern tip of that forest. Nobody lives up there. It is dangerous, you should know. This is not somewhere that you want to pass through. And God's forbid any of the spirits of the forest take umbrage with you being there. It's a route I've taken once and not again. But I can, if you think you're up to it, I can show you here on this map how you would get there. And shave a good couple weeks off of your travel. You could get there in 2 to 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
That will have to be our best bet. We may not make that one a round trip, but we could go safe one way and unsafe the other.
And Mama, the northern bog spines are kind of the that's the outer edge of what your you obviously being of a circle of the mountains. That's sort of the wilds. That's where like when someone from your circle goes off into the wilds, that for 2 to 60 months. That's kind of where they disappear into. It is primarily considered uncharted land. It is not the roughest terrain. It is more the dangers of the mountain and the creatures that keep people from traveling through there. You do know that there are some of your companions that travel horseback up there. There's no way a cart is going through up there, but horseback, certainly.
We could do it with horses, Callie.
Excellent. That might
Oh.
shave time.
You know,
Provided nothing eats them.
so you know the mountains.
I have some familiarity. Some of my colleagues, if you will, go off to the wilds.
Are you a keeper of the ancients?
I'm a druid of the mountains.
Oh. Oh, well, I don't know why I'm worried then. You got this.
Do what I can.
The only keeper of the ancients I know is the Great Oak, and I certainly wouldn't worry about her going down there.
It's Grey Oak.
Great oak. Great oak.
Great Oak.
Is she a particularly valiant warrior?
No, she's just a keeper of the ancients. She knows the dangers of the mountains and of the lands here. And she has, when she was, well, it's weird to say younger, but when she was younger, she would travel quite a deal. At least that's what I hear.
Why is it so weird to say younger? Is she particularly young?
I guess you would just have to meet her. She's well aged, but doesn't look it. More so than our folk usually.
Lucky her.
Yeah.
If you uh, I don't know how you would get an audience with the Bride of the Asher. I certainly couldn't. But if you do get an audience with her, you might ask some questions about that path.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's and then they're working on all our other knowledge, right? We'll just get like a report. We don't have to like stay here.
You're welcome to stay here. You're talking about the reports that the requests had gone in earlier today.
For the map, and any other area information.
Oh no, he came out here
Gave
with a
us
map.
that.
He came out here with a map so you could scribe it down.
Cool. Excellent.
And he's like pointing out like areas on the map. You see that he's kind of pointing out, you know, it's a map. It's not the land. You know, there's a big difference. Right here, there's a mountain. When you actually pass through here, this mountain, there's not something there. The cartographer doesn't know how to draw mountains. There's actually a pass. There's actually a pass. So on your copy, not on his piece of like very fine vellum that he's not allowed to mark on, he like draws a little line. He's like, there's a pass right through here. It's gravel pass. It's easy enough to travel. In fact, easier travel, although not as wide as Widow's Pass. You just need to keep your wits about you. Some issues with wolves. The one time I passed through there, but that's good. If you see wolves, it's good because it means there's not something bigger hanging out there.
Okay.
If you don't see any signs of wolves, you might want to keep your eyes on the sky. There's I used to call them dragons, but I guess that's not what they are. The flying lizard things.
Okay.
I only heard about them. I haven't seen them. But let me tell you, if it's big enough to keep those winter wolves at bay, it's big.
Lizards. Winter wolves. Okay, and that's what we fought before, those big ones.
Yeah, the wolf that's like 8 feet at the shoulder, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Super. And the wolves are all throughout this danger route or just in the Gravelly Pass?
Gravel Pass is where they harassed me at least. I didn't see them anywhere else. Once you get to the far side of the mountain, you're in the land of the grandmother, and just if you see a path, stick to the path.
Okay. No gravel. If you see a path, stick to it. Yeah.
And even if that path is going the wrong way, just follow it till you get off the mountain.
Okay.
Nate, when he says the land of the grandmother, is that something that is reminiscent for me as someone who's like a mountain druid, or is that unfamiliar language to me?
Go ahead and give me a nature check, and give me that nature check with advantage.
Well, that was a nat 20, so I don't need to do anything else. And then plus 5.
Great. So you hear the land of the grandmother. That's not particularly meaningful to you, but you're thinking about where this would be on the mountains. And you've heard there are creatures that take up residence. There are old spirits. For example, there's a tree spirit that you know that's not more than a couple days travel from where you live. That if you had questions or whatever, it was considered a benevolent spirit. To your knowledge, they're still there. That you can go and seek for guidance. There are less benevolent spirits, and you've never heard this called the land of the grandmother, but you do know that there is some dark spirit that is supposed to inhabit that part of the forest. You know that druids of your circle typically give it a very wide berth.
And I know that, like, if I went off path, that might be considered like confronting or an aggressive act on behalf of the grandmother.
Yeah, this is to your, and I'm not going to have you roll for this. You know that when it comes to uh, the spirits of the forest, um, paths are pieces of civilization, right? That have encroached on the forest, um, but everything that is off of that path belongs to nature, and sometimes it's seen as whatever thing owns that, it belongs to them, and you are trespassing.
Okay, great. That helps. Thank you. Hallie, he's not joking about the path. I've heard stories.
All right. Well, I trust you. If nothing else, stick to a path.
Yeah, once you're off the side of the mountain, you're clear of the land of the grandmother, and then you just need to cut across this northern tip of Hollow, just across the forest here.
Mm.
Nothing, nothing so dangerous as you would see up in the mountains, but nothing so safe as a city. Be mindful. It's the forest is thick, the forest is dark, the bogs move. Um,
Yes. I mean, oh no.
but you'll be, uh, uh, and you, Callie, you have been into Hollow. Hollow is forested swamp. It is the all of Hollow is a swamp. In fact, Uthel the northern plain that's outside of here, is also swampland. So you do get your swampland benefits basically when you're not in the mountains on this path.
Awesome.
Uh,
I think he's ready to be useful.
but then you'll cross up towards Swamp Shadow, and I would say that's a good spot to stop as any if you're trying to kind of rest up somewhere before you scale the mountain, get to the temple.
Okay, when you say scale the mountain, do you mean like switchback tracks, or do you mean like tink tink tink, climb climb climb? Like, are we bringing our horses or not?
Depends on how much of a hurry you're in, but if you got time for the switchbacks, it takes about a day to get up and a day to get down. If you're so skilled and you're clambering up there yourself, there's a couple of shortcuts you could take and cut that down to less than half a day.
Takes a day, day and a half. Okay, 1 to
I
5
think it
days.
depends on if Derek gets his hand working or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you have an injured friend? We have services here.
No, he built his own hand.
Yep.
He's kind of an unusual. Well, we're all kind of unusual.
Yeah, I didn't get your names.
Oh, I am Caligo DeFera, Mudskipper, and this is the
You can just
illustrious.
call me Mama. Everybody
Exactly.
else does.
Mm-hmm.
Defara, you're a mud skipper. I've traveled with some of your kin in the past.
Have you really? That is so good to hear. I hope the experience was good and I don't have to yell at nobody when I get home.
No, Soggy Socks was fine.
How much do I know about Soggy Socks?
Soggy Socks is actually one of the main family matinee children, who is one of the you would see them as one of the most skilled skippers, who's not a not in management, one of the most skilled out in the field skippers. So that's what you're familiar with about Soggy Socks.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty great. And yeah, no, wow, that's cool. I think I had a poster of him in my hut.
And they named him Soggy Socks. I thought I gave my kids weird names.
No, that's what he calls himself. Matinee. He's of the family. Vit, I believe.
Uh-huh.
But he mentions this to Callie, and he turns to you, Mama. You wouldn't be the mama from Swamp Shadow, would you?
Might be.
Well, I suppose you don't recognize me then.
Well, it's hard. Y'all got makeup and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't when I'm traveling. I passed through. I went up to see Mother Corin some, oh gosh, it must have been 5 years ago now. Um,
Oh, Jacoby, Jacoby. Why that name familiar?
you were having some row about what to do about something about the fade. I didn't want to interrupt, but I saw you. I shook your hand. You were upset about something. I understand. If you just
Name is familiar. You gotta forgive a very old woman. Uh, Faces are hard. It's unusual for me to see a familiar face here. Maybe not why I didn't place it, but like I said, very old woman. And I think the fate upsets most of us, to be fair.
yeah. I think it upsets everybody except well, I suppose it does upset the Great Oak. Not
Mm,
doesn't seem to do much to her, but upsets her.
okay. And your
Well,
name? Sorry, I didn't catch it. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
it was Jacoby.
Jacoby. Okay, Jacoby.
Well, now that I said it a few times, Jacoby, and now that I'm not upset when you're talking to me and you've been such a wonderful help,
Mm,
I will remember you for as long as our brains will allow us to remember anything.
He smiles and he pulls out. He's got a small. It's like a small tuft of fur and it's bound in leather cord. Um, and he offers it to you, Mama. And he's just like, I'd be honored if you would carry this with you when you travel.
aw,
I would be honored to carry it.
Um, Mama, you look at it. It is a rabbit's foot, bound in leather cords, and the tip of the foot every few seconds twitches.
Can I do some? Is there a roll that I can do to see if I understand what is happening here?
Um, you know what? I'll let you do a nature roll on that.
19. Yes. So that's a 24.
So you have seen these before. You've seen these come out of Bastion before. They're used primarily by the excuse me. They're used primarily by the Pale Ritualists, who, now that you're in Bastion, you've come to understand are probably the ones who make them. Um, it's some people simply just call it a rabbit's foot, um, but what it does is it rouses you to danger. If you are asleep, just you, if a new creature is entering within 30 feet of you while you sleep, that was not there when you went to sleep, it immediately rouses you.
hmm,
You are such a kind young person. Eh,
But thank you.
Are you from here?
Yeah, born and raised.
Craving anything from the south since we're headed that way?
Do you have any kind of like looks around? No one else is out here. It's later in the evening. Do you have any meat?
Honey, do we have any meat? Well,
yeah.
yeah. We have just been making, well, we just turned 50 pounds worth of wolf meat jerky.
But did you say meat or mead?
Meat.
Mead.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I, I'd be happy to take a pound of that off your hands if you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I have it
Mm.
on us or
I mean,
Oh,
it's
I'm
still got
assuming
to go
Callie's talked.
overnight. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
we will make sure why don't so Callie, you explain to this nice young person, Jacoby, that
Mm,
where our lodging is. and you come by in the morning because it's drying overnight.
Mhm.
We've salted
Absolutely.
it already.
Oh, thank God. Have you had the
Mm.
food here yet?
No,
Oh,
Maybe
that
you had better
doesn't
take
bode
2
well.
pounds.
You might need to.
Yeah.
well, I thank you both. Um, hopefully, is there anything else, any other concerns that you have about this trip that I could help you with? Again, I've only taken the shortcut the one time, but I can get it on this map for you.
No,
I think
I
it.
think that's tremendous. Just be
You
warned
can.
that the jerky is Southern Spice North Wolf jerky, so
Oh, did you get some hot root?
did I leave anywhere without hot root?
You are not familiar with hot root. You use peppers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I mean, I presume it's hot. They're fruity type things. No. Pepper?
Have oh, like the fruit things.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll have to have some hot root while you're up here.
Mm,
It's
Well, that sounds
similar
delightful.
but different.
mm.
Um, as you kind of like wrap up this conversation and make your way out into the main part of the temple, around this time the other two come down the stairs and meet up with you. It's really convenient how conversations take the same amount of time always. And make your way out of the temple. To share what information that you have. We'll come back to that in about 10 minutes after our break. So we're going to go on to break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you in a little bit. And we're back. I totally gave a countdown to everybody, and everybody knew that was about to happen. Picking up out in front of the temple, it's getting late. It's getting into the evening. What are you up to?
Is Jacoby with us? Did Jacoby walk out with us?
No, he's working.
Oh, that's too bad, because I was going to introduce him to the high priest.
Should we maybe go to the house where you all are staying to speak?
Either that, or we could try to get in contact with Ramanari tonight.
Rama, what?
Oh,
I don't know if you mentioned it. I think you were told by Kami Shava to go speak to Ramanari.
yes. Ramanari's my sister.
Mhm.
You have a sister?
Yeah. She is a member of the Children of the Asher, a different group of priests, but she's involved in the church as well.
I'm
I do
so
need to
sorry,
check in with
Tosha.
her.
I didn't mean to imply anything, but you were giving me only child energy.
Well, that's not. So, Ramanari hasn't been marked to my knowledge. And she also chose to join the Children of the Asher, which is they they provide important services to the city and people, but they're generally considered to be the lowest level of the church, and Kamishava didn't really approve of her choosing that route. So, and we were trained and kind of raised separately as we were growing up, because we were in different because of my powers, I was marked pretty early to be a charred priest, and so we aren't especially close, but I don't I don't hold anything negative toward her.
You don't need to explain, honey. I have a sister. I know how it goes. But it's just, I'm so fascinated that we get to meet all these members of your family. Also, the archivist in there was just so delightful. Like such a joy to work with.
I'm glad. So you got some good information about the route?
Well, it's not going to be fun, honey, but it's definitely going to be a route. We're gonna make it or something.
How do you feel about requisitioning mountain climbing gear and a harness or two, just in case?
Yeah, I trust you. Mountaineering is not my something I know much about, but if you think we should have it, then we should have it.
I can cast spider climb as well, so you'll be all right.
Well, that's very interesting. In that case, we could do like a pulley system. Make sure we get that in the climbing gear, because never mind. Just give me something. Like Callie's just going and scribbling down in her like travel notebook of like like we could do this and I could spider climb that and then
If we want to bring the horses with us, we might need to not climb something.
Well,
Unless
we could do the 1 day version or the 2 day version, Callie, instead.
Well, no, what I'm saying is not climb the like. To be fair, Aloy, you do not know what I'm referring to because you were not there. Um, but if we can
I'm just thinking about climbing, and we got horses.
yeah. No, if we can get 1 or 2 folks up the last part quickly, that will save a lot of time. We don't, and also horses taking a switchback is dangerous anyway. Heavy horses, tiny path. So even if we do some people up, that would save so much time. So much time.
I could also turn myself into a mountain goat. I guess that would work for a little bit.
For a second, I thought you were going to end that sentence at mountain. And just this Mama becomes a whole mountain.
I become an obstacle in our path.
Mountains are a type of beast, right, Nate?
Mm-hmm.
They're actually a monstrous landscape.
Dang it.
I knew it.
I miss these like 2-type creatures. I want to go back to having fey beasts and stuff. I think that was cool. Okay. I mean, it's not like there's not like, oh, you could get horses, or we could get mountain goats and we just have them like lying around, because that would be funny. But
Dire mountain goats would be great.
dire goats,
Yeah.
that would be so cool.
I love you all, but I sometimes wonder.
I just assume that this is real.
And walking.
Callie knows what she's talking about.
Dwarves. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I
So,
heard of
yeah,
these alligators.
And he said something
Alleys.
about hot root.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
We don't have that in the South.
Do I know
Oh,
what hot root is, DM?
You've heard of it. It's a seasoning that people use. You're not really familiar with what it tastes like.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some type of seasoning.
I feel like as a druid, I should know what it is, and I don't. And I feel like my life is lacking because I don't have it.
I mean, we can probably get some on our way out in Lower Bastion, I imagine. There's some places we could get some.
That would
Excellent.
be excellent.
As you head to your hostel that you've got sort of set up, right inside the door, Derek is still kind of in the corner, like fussing with something, and he's just like, "Someone dropped those by. They're awful." You see there are 4 bowls set out. Each one has a clear liquid broth of some sort, and then set in the center of it is about a 4-inch by 4-inch chunk of. It's a chunk of white material. It almost looks like somebody made a porridge and squeezed all the water out and just made a solid piece. When you take one of the provided forks to it, it sort of crumbles off almost like a drier cheese. And when you taste it, it kind of tastes like if water was solid, but not ice. Just soft, flavorless.
I pour a little bog water in my soup.
Callie will politely, like, partake in it. It's probably not the worst thing she's ever eaten, but it's probably close.
Yeah, it's not. It has no strong flavor, which, while one of its great problems, is also to its benefit. You don't bite into it and go, "Oh God, what is this?" It is, I think, as best described, tolerable.
Awesome. Well,
Well, it's not a mouthful of mud.
Alar, you've seen this before. You've seen something similar before. When you were a child, there was a bit of a food shortage in Lu when there was some animosity between Lu and the North. And some of the churches actually were giving this food out. The priests found it, made it somehow. You're not sure how, but it was emergency food. You've tasted it maybe 2 weeks of your life. You were eating this off and on. So it kind of brings back that time of your childhood where things were lean and a little bit rough.
Is this what is normal for food and rations up here?
Yeah, well, it's what I usually eat, and it's what the people of the church typically eat. I understand it's not a magic that I possess, but some people can use magical means to make food and water. And so it's what we eat. That's why there weren't a lot of cooking fires sort of around here. I think the folks in Lower Bastion and other areas, don't eat this all the time in the same way, but us in the church do.
I say nothing, but inside, I am starting to understand why Derek did what he did. Just a little bit.
Well,
So what did you find out? Because we found out all kinds of things about our trip. So we found an option that'll take us 2 weeks, but it's going to be a little rough. Now, it's nothing that folks who are in my circle can't handle, or in Callie's circle for the latter portion of it. So it should take us just about 2 weeks to do. But it's not going to be a fun trip. So if you
Uh,
want your jollies, it ain't now.
just to clarify, 2 weeks round or 2 weeks out, 2 weeks back?
2 weeks out, 2 weeks back, as opposed to 4 to 5 weeks
Mhm.
out, 4 to 5 weeks back.
And we have what, 8 weeks before
Mhm.
the ritual? Okay. Yeah, I mean that we got to go that way. So sounds good.
Yeah, we also learned a lot of things. We told them about Elena, and they seemed open to helping. They can't do anything really very open necessarily, but uh, they can help, and they seem to have our same goals with being able to get more folks into the Ascension. So that was good to hear. They told us that Olena has been marked as well, and that she'll be taking part in the ceremony.
The
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
huh. Derek, did you hear your new best friend's gonna be in the running? He's not listening to me. Anyway,
I'm optimistic. We met the Grey Oak, who I have a feeling you would like. She seemed to genuinely be inclined to not cause us a bunch of problems with what we're trying to do.
we heard about the Great Oak.
Yeah, she may have even been through this difficult path in her youth.
Oh, where does this path go?
Oh, here you got a map. See, now that I'll take it out and I just get real detailed.
Yeah. She mentioned to us that there might be some more answers we could seek about the Ascension ceremony and the Asher, and possibly other things from the grandmother of the mountain in the northern bog spine.
So, did she talk to you about the grandmother? Because you got to be real careful with spirits like that.
She mentioned that we could possibly trade with the grandmother of the mountain for power and or knowledge, but that it would probably come at a cost.
It would come at a cost. If you take a foot off that path, it's trespassing. They'll just kill you.
Well,
all kinds of dangers.
It sounds like
Lord.
she's the same kind of creature as the Frost entity, the sister of the Frost that we apparently ran into on the way here. So,
Well, you know how well that went.
yeah.
Although
no, go ahead, Tosha.
I will say she gave us some directions to find this grandmother of the mountain. And also the Great Oak seemed more positively inclined toward the grandmother than she did toward the sister of
Mhm.
Frost.
Well, at least of the folks that I know, the circle of the mountain druids I know who go up to the mountains in order to like seek the wild for long periods of time.
Mhm.
I mean, we know of her as not a nice spirit. Like there's a tree spirit back home who's lovely. You ask questions, they give answers. It is fantastic. I mean, you don't always understand the answers, but like they'll give you answers or they'll at least give it a good think on it. But like this is not benevolent to my understanding, this spirit. Also,
good
there are
to
flying
know.
lizards. So there are things we got to watch out for.
Told you,
Okay.
sky gators.
So I,
False.
wait, they're real? No, so like okay. I have made this mistake. Are these drakes? Are they wyverns? Are they dragons? Are they actually
are
sky gators?
sky lizards.
Okay. That
I'm saying
doesn't
that without
help.
having seen one.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Sky gator.
Cool.
And and lots of winter wolves. Lots of winter
Mhm.
wolves.
Mhm.
So we might be in for more jerky along the line.
Can you talk to those?
Yeah. Now that I've seen a couple.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you know, I need a nap. I need to reset my spells. But yeah.
It's Tosha. They said something very specific, which is that like you don't deny one of these spirits 3 times, and from the sounds of what you've said previously, it looks like you may have denied the Sister of Frost twice. So I assume the
Yes,
third time would
I
be bad.
I was
I'm
going
going
to
by that way
mention
though,
that
are we?
as another danger. Yeah, that we should not go back that way.
Okay.
The widow's
Um,
pass.
yes.
Yeah, we're not going the Widow's Pass. That's the long way.
Okay, so we're not likely to run into. Hopefully, we're not going to run into the Sister of Frost again. If that's like,
Well,
if the
I'm
Widow's
not in
Pass is
charge
her
of her
territory,
social calendar. It's hard for me to know who she's visiting that day.
it would be
Mm.
great if you were though. That would be so cool.
Elias,
Shit.
honey, you make me tired.
Hmm.
But in a
Uh,
nice way, like you're a good kid, but I just
Aw.
don't always understand you.
That's okay, Hazel. I don't understand you folks either all the time.
You
Fair
folks.
enough.
What about the Sky Gators?
Hey, we got a rabbit's foot. So that's good.
Mama
Is it?
does.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
In
Uh,
theory.
Elias, do you have a means of contacting your sister?
No. Short of, I mean, I don't have magic. I don't have any way of doing that in any way that I can think of. And the thing is, she is likely to come into town as Birchwood Crystal Tune, I believe was the very subtle alias she was using. So with any luck, she's not coming in as something Latonin and isn't gonna get. But I have no way of like leaving a message or something
I
behind.
do, but it depends.
Mhm.
Like it kind of depends on when she's going to be there. So I can send a message with the small animal,
Mm-hmm.
but we got to specify a location where I need to have been, and I need to be able to give a message, and it's going to mimic my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And if it can't find her, then, you know, I can try, you know, higher levels and increase it by like 48 hours above the second level. But, you know, it's going to be in my voice. It's not going to be in yours. I'm not sure what your sister's going to make of a small blue jay talking to her in my voice.
You know, honestly, she would probably It's probably going to be bad for her ego long term, but the idea that the animals now speak to her, and I would not be surprised if she adds like voice of the forest to her list of titles or something when we run into her next. But for this, I don't know how much longer they were going to stay in town after we left, but presumably she shouldn't be that far behind us. Maybe a week or so. Is it possible to send this messenger like in a direction, and then if it
No,
meets the person before, okay, it has to be a specific
it's
location.
got to go to a location.
Okay. In that case, I don't think we can send it to her unless we know where to send it to. I suppose we
Well, I
could
mean, we
try.
know she's coming to Bastion.
No, I know what I mean is we don't know when she's going to get here, so we don't know when to send your message.
Oh, that's fair. You don't want it
Unless you're
going to the wrong person.
unless your blue jay can just hang around, that'd be great. But
Well, it's interesting because you only give it a basic
okay,
kind of
Mhm.
description of the person it's going to. Now, your sister does stand out. I will say that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Okay. Well, worst comes to worst, we can try this once we think like she would be back in town.
mhm,
Something.
Yeah,
it'd
I
just
was
be
just
lay low, God help you.
well, it's more that the brides can't really leave Upper Bastion without bringing a lot of notice to themselves, and then also bringing a lot of notice to anyone else they're with. So it's more, I was more thinking a message to tell her, like, there are these people who can help you, like, if things, you know, whatever, like, if you get into trouble, like, here's where you can find them, kind of more of a thing, because they're not going to be able to overtly reach out to her, but they are willing to help.
Yeah, I also don't think she's necessarily going to be able to overtly reach out to them. I think we can go visit them because you're you. I also don't know what her plans are. We're probably not going to find out until we get back, and we'll find out that she showed up and had an entire parade announcing herself as the next bride of the Asher, and somehow managed to still be alive. It'll just be what it is, unfortunately. I don't know of anybody in town I can use to sort of leave a message. So unless you know someone and have a friend that you trust to drop off a letter or something.
I mean, there are definitely people I could send to drop off a letter. I'm just afraid, especially after what the bride said, I'm not sure who we can trust with this, and I would be afraid of the letter,
We find
ending up
all the
somewhere wrong.
inns in the lower city. We write one letter to every inn and address it to Birchwood Crystal's Tune. So no matter where she goes, there is a letter waiting for her there.
Well, perhaps at least we can leave the information with the brides of the description of your sister and the alias she might be going under, so that, if they do happen to catch wind of her or anything, that at least they,
Sure.
have an eye out. But I
Also,
guess that's the best we can do.
I hate to interrupt, but wouldn't it only matter if they think she's from a high family?
I have no idea what
If
my sister has
she
planned.
enters with her whole like carnival line, do they really think they would take her seriously?
If she enters with the carnival line and starts bandying about the symbol, maybe.
That's fair.
Yeah. Speaking of your friends and the knowledge now that we're probably going to have to fight one of them because she seemed mean. Is there any chance of us not coming to blows with Olena? And that is going to be a really fun moment where we have Elena and Olena both in the attempt to become the Asher. Is there any
Yeah, I
chance
definitely planned that ahead of time.
Oh, no, I'm sure. Two people separately writing backstories. The is there any chance that that's not going to come to blows, or are we going to end up fighting this person?
Well, I don't really like to talk about this, but seeing as you've met her and she's going to be more involved in this than I thought, I would rather you hear it from me what happened. So remember I told you that I wasn't really raised with my sister? I was raised with Olena. We were, since the time we were like probably 4 years old, we were trained here at the church. They kind of separate you based on the type of priest you might become one day. And so we were both kind of marked to be charred priests. And we both also had these powers that we couldn't really explain when we were very young that showed up. And so we got special lessons with the high priest before me. And Elena still is, brilliant. She was a lot better with magic than I was, like knowing how magic works. And very good at research. And understood way more than I did about all of that. And she wanted to help me control my powers, and I wanted her to help me too. And so we came up with this plan where we would cast, I don't know all the right words for this magic, but some kind of magic to contain my magic when I cast it or control it in some way. And so we thought if we could contain it and kind of ward it or trap it, we might be able to study it, understand it. We could stop my magic from exploding into chaos. And I don't know fully what it was, but Olena found some kind of scroll for this powerful kind of warding or trapping magic. But it went wrong. Something went bad when she cast it, and it might have been, it was probably my magic, but I don't really know. You know that sometimes when I cast things, I do things and I don't remember them. That happened, and when I came to, Elena was badly hurt. I'm the one that blinded her. And after that, she didn't want me to touch her, come near her, see her ever again. And she left the charred priests and started training with the pale ritualists. And I tried to stay away from her like she wanted. But I haven't spoken to her, and I don't know. So I guess when we get into the ceremony, I don't know. I don't know if she wants to kill me for what I did to her. I don't know. I don't know if she sees becoming the bride as some way to get back at me or to undo some damage that was done. I really can't tell you what is in her mind and heart. Not anymore. But I thought you should know.
Then I suppose it's good that Derek has put so much effort into cementing a relationship there.
You hear a small explosion and a motherfucker in the background.
Where did she find that scroll?
I'm not sure if I know.
So she just happened to come across a really strong spell scroll.
No, she stole it
So she stole the
from
scroll without knowing,
the former high priest.
Hmm.
and she blames you for what happened?
I mean, she was doing it for me. I never would have stolen anything.
We all
I would have.
know. Poor children. You know it's
And I
not
mean,
your
I don't.
fault.
I mean, it was my magic. She was trying to help me.
Did you
I don't really know
purposefully
who
hurt
else.
her?
Oh no, of course not, but
Then it's
it
not
doesn't
your
mean she
fault.
wasn't hurt.
I didn't get to see it, but you said that you basically blacked out. If this was another one of those times where the Asher started doing stuff, like back in the chapel,
There's
it would give some reason for why she might be trying to become the Bride of the Asher. Better understanding, same kind of interest in her own way as the rest of us, not knowing what this is and what's going on. I know you have questions. She probably does too. But since you're more familiar with this mama, what's the likelihood that I don't know, some big old powerful spirit called Grandmother of the Mountains might be able to make some kind of trade to fix somebody's eyes?
Here's the thing, love. What you gotta remember is that if they are not naturally benevolent spirits, you have to consider that the larger the favor, the greater the cost. Just stepping off of the civilization path has tremendous cost. We might well try to find another route. You could take darkness out of a person without restoring sight.
And to be fair, Elena's very proud. I don't know if she would want her sight healed at this time.
Fair enough.
You hear in the background again, she what? He's basically trying to make a ring of regeneration, but an eyeball.
Oh, I
But wear
should
it in your eye.
probably say before you get too deep with that, Derek, that they tried healing magics on her, of course, after what happened, but it wouldn't take. It didn't do anything.
Well,
Okay, well, now my metal hand has 2 marbles that I just slot into it.
we've seen that though before.
Thoop, thoop.
We saw that when you tried to heal, what was his name? The Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Tier. And that was a whole thing to do with the Asher. So if this is another one of those things where, I don't know, the eyeballs were given unto death, I don't know what the phrasing would be. That would explain why they couldn't be healed. So
Yeah, I mean, anything could have happened. The scroll was magic way beyond what either of us could cast or understand at that point, and I also tried to, as part of like trying to anchor the magic, I tried to force my magic out, and it doesn't really work that way, and I haven't tried to force it in that way since. So,
Well, but also you don't remember what happened. There could have been a sacrifice made. Just like what we talked about with the grandmother of the forest. Like, there are circumstances and deals that go on, just like in that history book that we keep looking at with the lifespan that gets halved and halved and the fade and all of these introductions, there are deals that could be made that maybe we know nothing about. And she's not talking to you. She's probably not going to talk to me, that's for sure. But before we go and make any kind of sacrifices, look at the information that we have right in front of us and see what we can make of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that means the journey, folks. So you better buckle up, Buttercup, because here we go. Right, Callie?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything else that we want to you two dealt with the scouts and the maps? Is there anything else we need to do tonight before we head out tomorrow?
Climbing gear, food. That's all we need. Really, we've got a map. That's
We
the best we
got
can hope for.
food.
Yeah, we have
We
100
got a
pounds of
ton of
jerky. That's
jerky.
not like you don't just eat jerky.
I look down at the unappetizing but probably nutritious gruel powder.
Mm-hmm. Liquid.
I'm gonna take the jerky.
It's
Was it a liquid?
unflavored.
I thought it was a block.
It's a block inside
Yeah.
of us. What was presented as a thin broth, but as you're looking at it, it's just water with some leaves in it. And the block is like unflavored, unseasoned tofu. Is essentially like semi-firm, just block.
One of those futuristic nutrition cubes that you bite into and gives you everything you need.
It's the beta test of lambus bread. It's just it's neither filling nor satisfying, but it's sustained you.
Lame ass bread.
Anyway,
We got to put aside a couple pounds.
For Jacoby.
I mean, if it's gonna take us 2 weeks to get out there anyway, we'll eat a couple. Oh, you meant for Jacoby? Yeah, no, sorry, I meant like we would eat
Shush.
through it. Yeah,
We don't talk about such things. We just do them and we leave them out.
fair enough.
You just got mommed.
and Derek, you've been hearing them talk about this path that they're thinking of taking. As they're kind of explaining the path, you're like, hey, I've been down that way before
Oh no.
with a bunch of kids.
Oh no.
Oh, they said this wasn't the Frost Hag way.
It's not the Frost Hag way. This is a different path.
Out of
The Sister of Frost is somewhere around Widow's Pass.
okay.
This is crossing. You're kind of. This would be easier with the map. But going straight south, normally you would have to turn east and go through Widow's Pass and cross mountains there. What you're talking about doing is going straight south, where you run into the northern tip of the Bogspine Mountains, or the northern branch of the Bogspine Mountains, and crossing there. And that's where you took the orphans to.
Oh, so the Frost sister's sister.
The grandmother of the forest.
Mountain.
So
No,
I just
sorry.
assumed that you took a bunch of orphans and like fed them into a meat grinder. Did you sacrifice them to a hag?
No, she was very. 1 second. Try to speak much quiet. I think you've turned your gain up, my love. Thanks. I just didn't want to come through twice. Now what was I talking about? Oh yeah, sacrificing children. Long and short of it, I met somebody. We constructed a level of business where she said she could help me by putting, she'd she'd take the orphans, presumably to put them to work or whatever, or later I found out it was more part of the solving the problem, and in return, she would return a large sum of meat that I could then distribute to the poor in Bastion. It was a purely business relationship.
Okay.
Well, then yes, we're going that way.
I'm
Yeah, she's
reconsidering
great.
talking to the grandmother of the mountains.
My understanding, though, is that she was the sister of the person who assaulted myself and Tosha on our way initially on our trek
It
before
sounds
we
like
met you
they're
guys.
both spirits of the area.
Gotcha. She definitely
Yeah.
called her a sister.
Would track.
Yeah, these ancient spirits, they were, I don't know a lot about them, but they were somehow involved. They might know more about the old gods and everything that went on there. But they also, this grandmother of the mountain holds one of the enchantments on Bastion, so they're somehow related to how we're able to survive here and things that keep some of the structures in place and whatnot. Some kind of deals were made.
And she uses way too much basil. Weird an allergy thing.
On the meat that you got back, or was there other food
Yeah.
offered during? Okay, just checking. All right.
Well, she didn't give me back unflavored meat. That'd be gross.
Okay.
Yeah, they were sausages. Specified.
Exactly. Sausages. Basil bits ground into it. And teeth.
Mm.
It's no worse than the hot dogs you normally eat. At least we use the entire orphan, not just the feet and bits that you don't usually put on food and whatnot. It's no less disgusting.
Mm.
In fact, it's a bit stringier, to be honest. But dire times. I saved the city.
So, nothing else that we need to do before leaving tomorrow.
I made this, just push down on like a little ball on a spring-loaded thing. Well, it was going to be an eyeball. And it just kind of like very gently, like shitty Nerf dart from 1993, kind of like poops out and hits Ayla in the head. Hey!
DM, can you remind me what I was supposed to check in with Raminara about? I remember I was supposed to talk to her, but I don't remember about what.
You're supposed to talk to Raminari about the happenings in Lower Bastion regarding cults, and specifically the spider cult.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, I do want to speak to Raminari, but we can do that first thing and then head out, if that's okay.
Makes sense.
Cool.
You muted.
Yep. Yeah, we're on your schedule. Plus, we have to pick up all our requisitions anyway. So.
Yeah, and you're able to get all of your gear that you're trying to get requisitioned. It'll just be one of the runners up here will deliver it to the hostel area that you guys are staying in. Sorry, one second. Yeah, all the requisition gear will end up there. You can just expect it to show up now that you've asked for it. High Priest. Otherwise, we can move on to the morning.
That reminds me, I give back Tosha's symbol. Very helpful.
In those requisitions, I suppose we got a new 50-foot rope, seeing as I cut mine in half and we're going up a mountain.
Presumably we are getting several, because I've requested several rigs of climbing gear and harnesses and such. So many ropes.
All right, well then nobody gets something built for them in the morning, as I'm going to make a hand spool.
Yep, there are five 50-foot length ropes, 5 climbing harnesses, pitons and hammers, the whole climbing gear shebang for each of you.
I just wanted a hand spool so that I could rappel.
I figured.
Oh, I could tie it to
also,
my hand.
we should figure out what we're doing with Gertrude and the cart if we're taking horses. Do you all just want to sell her, or?
No.
We leave her in the town and pick her up when we get back, yeah? A big horse on a small mountain pass, not so good.
I mean, it's also the cart and horse of the High Priest.
Oh.
I assume it will be taken care of.
They got a point there.
Sure.
And if not, maybe we could
I can
arrange
ask
for it to
them
be
to-
taken care of.
Oh yeah, we can certainly arrange.
Okay.
I didn't know if we'd have use, but
Hmm.
certainly
Well, we
we
can't
can.
just sell her to somebody else.
Yeah. Not
It's
after everything we've been
Gertrude.
through.
No.
Okay. I don't know how animals work, but yeah, sure. We
I
will
don't know how
keep
animals
her.
work. They stop existing when they're not in the same room with you. They
She
don't have
doesn't
object
really
permanence.
understand how we work either, so it's fine. We had that conversation a long time ago.
Plus, we can leave all the stuff that we don't need on the carriage or whatever.
We're actually like down a lot of the stuff that we would have needed to worry about. We got rid of the pelt, we've got rid of the armor, the meat's been jerked. I think we're kind of good.
Gross.
Yeah, I think
I mean, literally.
if we do have anything we want to leave, I could keep things in my quarters. That might be a little safer than just out in the cart. But yeah, I don't know if we have anything left, but I'd be fine with putting it in my room if we need a place.
I don't really have anything.
I will check to see if there's anything that might be helpful for me to have, but other than that, I think I'm good to go.
But I also take and like put aside like what was like 2 pounds of at least 2 pounds of the meat, like a sizable portion I put
Mhm.
aside for Jacoby.
Sounds good.
I'd like to find out if Callie can pick herself up a shield. I just realized I do not have one.
You definitely saw some down at the traders near the front exit or front entrance to the lower bastion, where there's kind of that quarter where there's a lot of traveler kind of area.
Mm.
I may be just like completely looking at something wrong. Were we given like a note from Volstadt that said something along the lines of like you'll receive your reward when you get to the city? Who do we talk to for that? I vaguely remember him saying something along those lines.
Yeah, you have a release for his for the Kashir family's holdings that are still here in the city. It is a sum of gold that you can get the same place that you sold that food at.
Okay. They're probably not open this late. Can we just grab that tomorrow, if that's okay? Because I
I
don't
thought
know.
we were in the morning already.
Yeah, I think we're in the morning.
In that case, do it now.
Yeah, and you all rise to find outside your door, there's again one little bowl of delicious for each of you.
Listen, may as well
Mm-hmm.
not waste our food and eat what we can.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I definitely ate it.
All right, you collect up and make your way down the path to Lower Bastion.
Hey Nate,
Yes.
would a grappling hook be included in the climbing gear, or should we like pick that up?
You should pick that up. That's like your mountain climbing gear typically doesn't include a crowbar, or not a crowbar, excuse me, a grappling hook.
Okay, I would love to grab a grappling hook.
Same.
I'll just unscrew my hand.
Sounds good.
How
I'm
will I
gonna
tie
use
it?
spider climb, or I'll turn myself into something.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah, I think that's the gist of everything that I'm seeing in here is stuff that would be fun to have. We already got caltrops. We've got some various other items that would be usable for me. We have manacles. Those will be fun. But other than that, I think we're good. So yeah, the grappling hook would probably come in handy at some point.
Cool.
I don't think we have 1,000 gold to drop on a spyglass.
Yeah, I'll say that you can easily get those on your way out. Tosha, you can actually see Raminari when you go to exchange your reward from Volstadt. Raminari works in that building.
Great. Does anyone want to come with me to talk to Raminari? I'm basically
Yes.
telling her about the spider cultists, because I know Derek, you had mentioned that they were around in Bastion too, and she's the one who can keep an eye out for them, and since we know we didn't get all of them, kind of if they're doing anything else, she would be the one to know about it and help us keep an eye on that. So anyone that wants to come with me to talk with her about that is welcome.
Mama stands right next to her. She's like, I'm going. To them.
I've told you everything I need, like, I know about the spider cults, so I'm gonna actually grab some, like, pig iron and shit. Just in case anyone needs me to make anything on the way. And I'll meet you guys not at the cart, but I guess wherever we are meeting up prior to our departure.
Yeah, let's say probably the stables, right? Because we have to pick up horses and ask them to keep Gertrude.
Yeah, and Derek, you know that it is cheaper and easier for you to just go to these smiths that are in the inner trade circle, and basically exchange some, like, you could exchange a week's worth of meal tickets for about 40 pounds in pig iron.
Hell yeah. I might be encumbered if I carry this. I'm not even joking. Let's see, what's my... Oof, barely. Alright, you said a week's worth, so is that 7 or is that like 21?
That's 7.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, each one is a day's worth of food.
Excuse me. Cat.
Cat butt.
Also, Tosha, I have 43 of your gold. I just remembered that I was holding on to some of your gold for some reason. Just as a reminder.
Yeah, because I don't really know what to do with it, or how to. I don't know how much things cost or how, vouchers and church things. So feel free to use it for whatever. Like I said, I really just need supplies to, food obviously to live, and then things to make my holy oil. But aside from that,
Do you have components that you need?
just for the oil, and that is. Give me a second, I can.
Powdered silver.
If Nate is willing to let me use the Xanathar's rules for alchemy's tools stuff, I can actually make oil with an alchemist supply kit. I just need to get raw materials, which, depending on how much money we get, I can pick those up on the way out.
Awesome. Yeah, I just need the oil and then 25 gold pieces worth of powdered silver per each vial that I make.
Yeah, and you can get that basically at cost down in the inner trade quarters. You could, if you wanted to, requisition up to 5 of those while you're in Upper Bastion.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'll do that, and then we can save the money to buy it, at the Temple of the Moon or elsewhere if we have to.
We also maybe need to use it to do some smithing. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Tosha, you go in, you exchange, same place that you went to kind of exchange food and everything else, and you bring them this sort of receipt, and they look over it, and they kind of nod and go to the back, and they come back out and are kind of like, are you sure? And they go back and they come back out, and they bring out a small chest, like 10 inches on a side, about 6 inches deep, and it has within it 400... or excuse me, not 400. It has 40 platinum and 200 gold.
So divide by 5, 120 gold each.
So you receive that from your payment from the family cashier.
Said 120 each.
40 platinum is 400 gold plus 200 gold, 600 divided by 5 should be 120.
Okay, I'm 160. I'm holding on to 163 of Tosha's now. Sorry, just want to make sure I got that right. And I myself am apparently rich as fuck.
Nice.
Yeah, Elias, you've seen money fly around for various purposes, but like in your role, like you've worked with mercenaries. You've worked with independent folk, and while you are perfectly happy in the role that you're in, this is the first time that you've been getting, we'll say, an independent paycheck. Uh, this is far more money than you typically would see ever. Not at once, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tosha, you make your way towards the back where there's this, along with your party in tow, where there's some small offices where a lot of the children of the Asher kind of that work on the more organizing and bureaucratic side kind of take up residence. There's a decent sized office. Where you see Ramanari the eldest is kind of carved into a small wooden plaque and set next to an open doorway, an archway.
I will enter if it's open.
Yeah, there's symbolically no doors on these offices.
All right. Yeah, I enter.
You see Ramanari. For the rest of you, this is a half orc as well. Slightly different hue of skin than Tosha. The sort of gray, pallid color is a little bit more lively. There's a little bit more color in the cheeks. Obviously, she does not have the face paint of the charred priests, and has the kind of patchwork mantle of the children of the Asher. Looks up and stands up from her desk and High Priest.
Hello, Romanari. Do you have some time to speak? I have some information from my travels to Kashir that is important for you to know.
She walks over towards you, just kind of like immediately. One of the things that's like a little uncomfortable about Ramanari is like she does not really respect the bubble that a lot of people give to the High Priest, and kind of gets like right up next to you and grabs both of your hands. Do you like resist anything or?
I let her do it, but I'm like visibly uncomfortable, like kind of like stiff, but let her do it.
She raises your hands like out in front of you, so you've kind of got this like zombie like raised hand look. Steps in, wraps her arms around you, and then kind of like squeezes you lightly. And you're just kind of like standing there, like your arms still ramrod straight as she does this, and she steps back and she goes, "Antosha, blood of my blood, my sibling, how have you been as well? It's so good to see you."
um, yes, you know, I've never been good with these things.
And yet we still practice. We all will face the Asher, but we still do our work on the daily.
I am all right. I'm traveling. These are my companions that I met in Kashir. We've been going by the name Embers only. And yes, I'm learning a lot, and still, you know, everything with the Ascension is still weighing heavily on me, but
And Ramanari turns and kind of looks the rest of you up and down. And, well, you're an interesting crew. It's good to see that my sibling is making friends. Someday, they may even make family. So, what is it you wish to speak to me about? About the happenings in Kashir? Well, we have another food shortage. And her face gets like really, like immediately, like as she's saying, she's like, okay, yeah. Oh no, Kashir. Will there be another food shortage?
we think not. We have addressed what was going on there, but part of that had to do with it seems there was a cult to some kind of spider entity, demon of some kind that was behind the shortage. And Derek, my companion, told me that these same cultists from of the same group had been seen here in Lower Bastion as well. So I wanted to see what you knew of them and their activity, if anything.
These are the spider mother, brood
I
mother,
believe
brood mother.
the brood mother, yes.
Okay, so this is we've run into a couple. They've been unhinged. The couple that we've seen, one slew themselves when we sent the pale ritualists to find out what they had been doing. I never got a report on that. As you know, the bride only shares the information that she feels is necessary, and it turns out there wasn't any necessary information that we needed to protect our people down here, far from her. I don't know if they completed what they were doing or not, or what exactly they were doing. There was a lot of blood. It was pretty ugly. But there was a short investigation. Olena led that. You know how she is. I trust she found whatever was there to be found. Are you two talking?
No.
No. You know, there was and she like kind of looks like she's like reminiscing and kind of like looks at you and kind of pauses and sorry. No. I don't know too much about them. They've caused some issues, usually stealing goods from the church. Weapons have been something that they've taken in the past, but honestly, we've had much worse others that are the gods of the West. You know, from the Lost Crescent. There are some gods that are worshipped out there that are violent in their preferences. We've had some folks bring that into the city. That's been more of an issue than the broodlings. I don't know. It seems like there were a couple of just lost elves who were not happy with what they were getting from Corellin. I mean, obviously the Asher first, but folks often look to their own.
Yes, that matches what we found in Kashir. It was actually a priest of Corellin that had been turned to this broodmother's faith and had also brought many of the town and other folks under their sway. But I guess we don't have reason to believe they're, doing anything active in Bastion right now, but there were some survivors of that cult that got away from us in Kashir, so be on the lookout for them, I guess. And they also, many of their rituals that they used to cause the food to go bad involved sacrifice of individuals. So that I don't know if there was any ritual components or anything like that you found around these ones that you said killed themselves, but that would be something to watch out for.
I mean, I know you haven't gone looking for cultists in Bastion, but the ritual sites are usually our findings. They're the first things that let us know that there's something going on. I don't know. I'll talk to some of the militia down here. If you could get any of the pale ritualists to look into this, I don't have the kind of sway to get them pointed in this direction. They do what they think is best for Bastion, and that's not always what it looks like from down here. We'll keep an eye out. I'll make sure that we're honestly, we did have a bloody. Like I said, somebody slew themselves. It didn't seem ritualistic. It seemed more like they were afraid of what the Pale Ritualists were going to do, and that the option was better. There's a lot of rumors down here about the kind of things that someone who would carve runes into their own skin would do to someone else. Yeah. They've never been such a problem that we've needed to pay them any mind. So I'll make sure that we keep an eye out. We haven't had any real issues besides that, and even that was the end of last summer. I don't know. It seemed like another couple of kids got mixed up in stuff they shouldn't have been.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't have any information that they're doing anything specific here or anything like that. I just thought you should know.
Well, thank you.
Nate, sorry. Before you get too far, can Callie roll an insight check? Because she was outside the door when Tasha's mom told her to come talk to her sister about this, and her sister's basically saying, "I got nothing." So I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thanks. I'm not great at it, but I'm not terrible. But today I am 5.
As you're listening, it actually strikes you. It's weird that Kamishava would say, like, make sure you talk to Ramanari about this. You're kind of watching this exchange. It honestly, even with a 5, you're like, this feels like, why are we doing this?
Okay. Could I then clear my throat to sort of like I presume Mama and Callie have just been watching with sort of like, she got hugged. Did you see? Like just the sister interactions. Very curious.
They.
Oh yeah. So just kind of like, not to tread on a family moment, but why would Kamishava send us to you as a expert, as it were, in such a matter if this is really all you have? I feel led astray, or perhaps you are holding something back. Forgive my suspicions, but many people in power who seemed friendly and helpful have turned on us recently, and better safe than sorry.
I understand. Most folk who come up from the south are suspicious of us. The tusks usually, first thing someone who looks like you sees. So I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate you at least keeping that somewhat quiet. No, the bride has sent Antosha to me because, as far as the bride is concerned, I am the only person down here worth dealing with. And even then, sometimes.
Oh, no.
Here I was assuming Kamishava sent us down to remind Antosha of what would happen if Antosha didn't show up for the ceremony.
Oh
Pretty sure
no,
that's
she
just
did
that.
that. She did that by asking me to recite the Laytonin story. So
Kamishava's known for nothing if not her chill.
Right.
Man, none of you guys have a normal family like me.
Yeah.
We know nothing about Callie's family, I think, so far. It's like everybody else. We know about our siblings now. We know about everything going on. Callie, the perfect mystery.
Well, she looks delicious, so I'm presuming orphan?
Nope. Lots of siblings.
We
Um,
have
I
so
hate
much
to
in
break
common.
it to you, Derek, but no family is normal.
Mine is.
No.
uh,
Later.
Raminari looks at you, Antosha.
Oh, I'm not even here.
I know the ascension is soon, and I know that probably means that I will see you less. So I hope you take care in what you're working on, and I hope that whatever happens, that you are a benevolent bride, partner, husband.
I thank you. I don't intend to become the bride, partner, husband, if I can do anything about it, but that remains to be seen.
And she looks around and she looks at the archway that has no door on it. She's not allotted privacy in this position, and looks to you, Tosha, and you know, I will take this problem seriously of the cultists. Um, I were that things were different in our family, and she kind of like looks around and she like looks down at her like holy symbol, and I were that things were different. Take care. I will see you soon.
Aww.
You take care too, Ramanari. And I'll turn to leave.
And Mama, and 1 second. Just double checking some passive scores. Yep. And Alar. And Mama and Alar. Mama, you can kind of like see just like the way that she's acting, or like actually, particularly when she looked down at her holy symbol, she like paused, and there was something else, and you don't know what it was. Alar, with your high passive insight, you recognize there's obviously something she's not saying, and you actually there's something very big that she's not saying that is pertinent to the conversation at hand, but you can't really put your finger on it.
When you say conversation at hand, do you mean cultists or do you mean ascension?
I mean, she's not saying something.
Okay. Is there a way to do this subtly?
Subtle is what this party's known for.
I know. If we're on the way out, I will try to very quietly say to Tosha that Ramanari is definitely holding something back.
While he's talking to Tosha, because I'm not subtle.
I was gonna be like, maybe this is personal. Maybe you know, they do want to do it. So no, that's not gonna happen.
I just kind of look at her and I say, regardless of what you may think I think, being a sister is never easy. no matter how much love is there or lost. But blood is blood.
I'll take your word for it.
You know, Tosha, we might, if this goes wrong, we might not make it back. If there's anything you want to say to your sister, now might be a good time.
I mean, I don't.
If there's anything you might want to say to your sister, now would be a good time. He's
I don't.
just subtly trying to be like, she's hiding something. I
Didn't seem
don't
like
want
she
to
was.
interrogate your sister.
It didn't seem like she was hiding anything to me. I mean,
Okay.
that's how she always is.
Mhm.
I mean, but would you like me to say like you're hiding something? Please tell
I
me.
don't know.
I don't.
I don't want to antagonize whatever relationship the two of you already have, especially considering what may happen when we come back.
Insert Callie face slowly sliding in. Um,
Palms Alar
yeah.
away.
Maybe if you go back and hug her and something like, in these uncertain times, you never know when this could be the last moment, and just like open up that well and trust. You know, they're picking up on something that she's putting down. I don't see it myself, but you know,
If I
surprising
did that,
people.
she would definitely know something was wrong.
There you go. Perfect.
That honestly, I get the feeling that a lot of people here are not very in touch with their emotions, or they're all bad emotions, like with everything I've heard about Kamishava.
I walk away from them,
Okay.
back into the room, face Ramanari, and say, "My friends told me you're hiding something."
I
What?
was still standing there. I hadn't left yet. I was just
What?
staring at her.
Would you care to tell me, or is this a secret that you wish to keep?
Your friends are interesting, I will stay with. There is something I wish to tell you. But there is something I wish not for the bride to hear.
I don't really hold confidence with our mother for much of anything, so you don't have to worry about me passing whatever this is along.
I found out yesterday that I am marked. And we will pick up there next time when we come back next week and find out what all this means. So we will see you here, probably a little bit more of a talkative Derek next time. And see you next time.
Sure, I'm getting pig iron.
There you go. Same Caligo time, same Derek channel. See you all next Sunday. Bye, and thanks for joining.